I get that when companies are smaller, you sometimes have to do it, but I'd really advise everyone, whether you're an agency or you sell widgets, to try really, really hard not to go down the road of I'm going to be the cheapest. Because you can't be the best and the cheapest at the same time, right? If we would try to be the cheapest, our reputation and online reviews would be shit. I guess you could decide literally I want to be the shittiest product / cheapest product, but you definitely can't. You can't be the best product and be the cheapest, and you certainly shouldn't be telling clients that you're the best product and the cheapest at the same time.
This podcast is brought to you by Penji. Penji is a creative subscription service that gives you access to pre-vetted, agency-trained creatives from all over the world. From graphic design to illustrations to social media management and web development, it's all included for one monthly price. It's time to say goodbye to the hassle of searching for top-notch creative talent. With Penji, you get quality and consistency delivered right to your inbox every day. Carefully crafted for you by humans. So meet your new creative team today. Head over to penji.co for more and enter the coupon code located within the podcast show notes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fully Managed by Penji podcast, the podcast where we discuss marketing and business tips to help assist you on your business journey. I'm your host, Shannon, Penji's partnership coordinator, and I'm joined here today with a very special guest, Alex Mellon, co-founder of Smartsites. I hope you enjoy this episode. All right. Hello, Alex. Thank you so much for coming on with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I wanted to start out if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your work and what's led you up to here today.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been involved in digital space for a very, very long time. My first company was a web hosting company that I started 1997. So that was a very, very long time ago. So far back, I don't want to do the math, but I started at 13 years old. It was one of the first web hosting companies that predates Google and a couple other big companies. So involved in tech space for a very long time. These days, I run a digital marketing agency. It's full service digital marketing agency. Have been doing that with my younger brother since 2011. So also a lot of years. We're very focused on the SMB space and helping small businesses with all their digital needs. And as a company, we're very focused on growth. So since we started, we double in size every 18 months or so. So we're at 400 employees now, and 18 months will be 800 and so forth. Just made the Inc. 5,000 list for the 8th time in a row. So every year that we have been able to be in the list, we've been in the list. So we've been keeping that growth pretty steady and hope to continue keeping that same pace into the next couple of years.
That's incredible. Can you kind of share about your strategy on how you are able to grow that quickly? I know that that's definitely, I don't hear that very often with agencies, so that's very incredible.
Yeah, thank you. Strategy. It definitely is not a slow growth. There's definitely, if you go like out to the tech space in California, by their standards, we're barely growing, right? But I think we've been trying to keep a happy medium. A lot of what fuels our growth is our reputation and our investment in both our own marketing and employees. But we try to keep it very steady. You don't want to grow so fast that your quality of services goes down. So we always keep a good checks and balance on that. And our reputation is by far the most important thing we have. So we always keep an eye on that. But for sure, it's literally investing in, so we don't do any outbound marketing. So we don't go on cold call or anything like that. So what we do is we invest in marketing our own company. So we do pay-per-click advertising for, SEO agency, pay-per-click agency, website design, keywords like that. We spend more on that. We get more leads. Then we need more salespeople. Then we need more project managers, and that's pretty much how we grow. Of course, the mindset has to be that you're willing to make those kind of investments. On our own marketing, we spend $300,000 a month now, and we certainly are not transactionally positive. And what I mean by that is a lot of clients and even agencies often try to be positive, ROI positive on a transactional basis, meaning I spend $10 for that click. How much revenue that I make from that click, I want to be positive, right? We certainly aren't. It's all lifetime value equation for us, right? We know that if we invest 300 grand a month this year, we're not going to be ROI positive on that investment this year, right? It's all future looking. If we get a client for website design, we make them a website, then we do SEO, pay-per-click, social media. We do a good job. They refer their uncle refers their friend, right? It's that kind of model and mentality that you really need to have. I feel like a lot of agencies that don't grow don't really have that kind of mentality. They're not really looking into the future and trying to really think of it as a lifetime value. They're more of a, I need to ROI this year, right? I need to make money from that lead this year kind of thinking. But yeah, that's what we've been doing.
Wow. So it seems that you kind of have the same strategy for building your agency as you do for gaining customers. What did you say?
Yes, it's a very similar approach. Yeah. And I encourage we encourage our customers to also think that our clients to also think that way, to think of their business model also in terms of lifetime value. I think it's very important, especially in today's world where marketing is becoming more and more competitive, right? Literally every year, pay-per-click keywords will cost more, right? There's no guessing. I could tell you confidently next year will cost more than this year, right? So you obviously have to be very effective with all the marketing you do and really think of it in lifetime value versus trying to be transactionally positive.
Yeah, I think being forward-looking is really important when you have an agency. I think that a lot of people have short-term goals, which are still important, but probably not as important because they might not look as great short-term, but they might be very important long-term. And that's kind of, I feel like people should kind of look that way for most goals in any kind of form in their life. So I agree with that, definitely. Do you, so say you have a prospective customer or client interested in your business, what is your proposal process and how do you kind of get them to decide on using your service?
Yeah, good question. So since we don't do any outbound, it's a little bit easier. So we're not doing the cold calling. We're not calling people out of the blue while they're having dinner and trying to convince them that they need a website. So, and a lot of agencies do, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it's I know we're probably in the minority of companies our size that don't do cold calling. So just to preface that, our job's a little easier because we literally advertise for pay-per-click management, website design, SEO. And when someone calls in and our sales team picks up, they're calling in asking for the service. So we're not necessarily trying to convince them while they're eating dinner that they need a website. They're calling us at their own convenience. And we're explaining to them the service the way we do it, put together a proposal. Obviously, our reputation helps carry a lot of things. If you search Smartsites reviews probably have the best, highest, best, most reviews of any agency our size, or not even any agency period. So that helps for sure. But yeah, that's the process. Obviously, there's hundreds of other companies that do what we do. So when someone calls us, I'm sure they are also calling other people as well. So it's up to our salespeople to really explain what we do, our process, how it's unique, and then let the client decide from there.
So I'm sure that you're not heavily involved in the sales part at this moment in time, but what would you... I know, yeah, I think you probably don't want to do that after a certain amount of years. Look at that. But what would you recommend for another agency to do if they're say they're in a bidding war with 3 other agencies? What would you expect your sales team to do in that situation?
Yeah, good question. So I got kicked off in sales a long time ago. Not to say I don't have the salesperson personality. It's definitely not me. But when we're a smaller agency, everyone does everything, right? The way we did it is our phones were kind of a round robin system. So the phone rang, whoever was not busy and picked it up did the sale, right? That's but that's why we ran when we were smaller. I had a very hard time selling things to people who I thought either didn't need it or had a terrible idea. They were very quick to kick me off the phone line because clients would call in, and I still remember. I don't know if I could use this example. I might have to like change some facts around in case he winds up listening, so he doesn't get scared.
Add a little lies in there.
Yeah. The change didn't add a letter to the name. Let's call him Bob. No, I don't even remember his name. But there was a couple of cases, but one specifically I remember. A guy called up. His father passed away and left him like $1 million, and he was like, I've never really had a good career job. And the guy, he's not like in his 20s, right? He was like in his 50s. He's like, I never really had a career or whatever. I'm gonna start a business, and my business. I hope I don't get in trouble for this. His business idea was getting married at the back of a van, and he was based in New Jersey where we were. So this is not like a Vegas idea, right? In Vegas, maybe it would be okay, but the idea was that people would gets better. People get married at the back of a van in New Jersey, which is not a typical place where you marry at the back of a van. Maybe
I'm from New Jersey, and I would say that is never seen it before.
We're a New Jersey company, so you get more, or at least back then we were more Jersey centric than we are now. So he's like, that's what I want to do, but it gets better. I don't want to be the guy driving around the van and having people getting married. In the back of it, he said, I want to incorporate this idea and I'm going to franchise it. So people are going to pay me for my branding, and I'm not going to say his brand name because he wound up getting it developed by another company. And so the idea is not even get people getting married at the back of the van, but he's going to franchise it, and other people will pay him $150,000 a year to be able to license the name on their van and to have people married at the back of the van. And I was like, this is terrible. Don't do it. I'm like, I'm sure the money your dad left you should not be used for this. And so anyway, I had a couple other scenarios like that. So I was very quick to get kicked off involuntarily from doing sales, and that was probably 10 years ago at this point. But yeah, back to your question. I hate all the pricing wars and everything. I think at some point, and obviously it's harder to do when you're a smaller company and very profitable, barely profitable. You don't want to give up leads or give up sales, but it's almost always a bad idea and very slippery slope to start competing on price. And I'll tell you, it's not exactly apples to apples, but when we were smaller, we were very much focused on competing on price because we wanted to grow. We thought if we make things cheap, we would grow very quick and it would help everything, and then we would have economies of scale, and then we could do things better, etc. So we would make websites, I believe, for like $1,500, $1,500. Which, granted, this was 13 years ago, so it was different kind of money and inflation. Maybe in today's world, it's $3,000. But so in any case, it would be very cheap. And what wound up happening is that it was terrible for everyone. We'd have to overload our project managers because they make commission, and they would have to take on 1 million of these clients just to make any money, right? Because they're such small amounts, they really would get overloaded. The quality of the websites would be terrible because we couldn't afford to do the extra QA or like extra development. We had to rush a lot of things. A lot of times the clients wound up with so we thought we'd sell it for $1,500. It cost us $1,000 to make. We'll make a profit. Clients wound up making like 300 revisions. Now it's costing us like $5,000 to make. So we're losing money on this website, right? Project managers are overloaded and pissed off. The client's pissed off that everything looks like shit and is late. At the end of the day, we wind up losing money on it. We get a pissed off employee and the client leaves us a bad review, and maybe we get lucky and he or she doesn't do a chargeback, right? So yeah, I get that when companies are smaller, you sometimes have to do it, but I'd really advise everyone, whether you're an agency or you sell widgets, to try really, really hard not to go down the road of I'm going to be the cheapest, because you can't be the best and the cheapest at the same time, right? If we would try to be the cheapest, our reputation and online reviews would be shit. you kind of have to pick. I guess you could decide literally, I want to be the shittiest product / cheapest product, but you definitely you can be the best product and be the cheapest, and you certainly shouldn't be telling clients that you're the best product and the cheapest at the same time.
Yeah, I definitely think that shows. I think it's also a testament to, I think a lot of companies even update their pricing based off of companies similar to theirs or agencies similar to theirs. So it's not just, you could end up being the cheapest because you don't realize that your value should increase over time sometimes. But I think that that's something that you should always be taking account for.
That's a very good point. The thing you mentioned that I think for people listening should definitely be called out. You should definitely be aware of your value, the value you're bringing. I think that's a big one. I think you should really, as a company, think about what your value add is, or what you really bring to the table, right? Like if you're, let's say, making websites and there's thousands of other companies making websites, what makes you different, right? And hopefully not just price. Maybe tell yourself, people, we're different because we're cheaper. That's not the correct answer. Like, what makes you different? I don't know. You're very good at dentist websites, so maybe you should focus on dentist websites. Or I don't know, you're very good at specific types of websites because you have people with expertise in that and you made a lot of them. Or you're very good at very high graphic websites because you have very good graphic designers. Like you really need like to have a cohesive of why, like what value am I bringing the customer, and the value isn't like that I'm doing it 10% cheaper than the other guy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think, I mean, like, selling point is great, but if your quality goes down because of that, that shouldn't be
Yeah, and reputation is tough to recover. Even like, I think aside from your online reputation, just having your reputation be terrible, like, do you know that company? Oh yeah, they're terrible. It's not good, but your Google reviews, right? Even if you do the math, let's say you have 50 5-star reviews and you decide to lower prices, everything, the work quality goes to crap, and you just got, let's say 5 1-star reviews. To get your average back to 5 stars would take like dozens of 5-star reviews. If you do the math, right, it's even like just based purely on the math, it's very, very hard to recover from having bad reputation. So for us, we take that's one of our top priorities. Priority is as a business priority, obviously, is to help our clients succeed. Number 2, have all of our employees be happy, because we don't produce anything, right? We don't make widgets. We don't make like a proprietary like car or cell phone. Literally, our work is our employees. So number 2 is to have all our employees be happy. And number 3 is to maintain our reputation. And those come way before profits or anything else. And I have no issues with companies that are very profit-centric. I know a lot of public companies have to be profit-centric. That's their fiduciary responsibility. But luckily for us, since we're private, we're able to focus on those things above everything else.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I think that profits over people almost always it doesn't work out. Even if it's a public company and you do have to focus on profit, everyone has to focus on profit a little bit, but you have to make sure that everyone else is happy too, because it's just gonna bite you in the butt later.
Yeah. Easier to do if you produce something. I agree that you shouldn't do it regardless, but obviously easier to do if you produce something like all the sneakers Nike's having made overseas. Like, they could care less how happy those employees are stitching the sneakers together. Whether that's right or wrong is a different conversation, but it's easier for them to get away with that because those people are not the service they're selling. If those people were client facing, right, and everyone's like pissed off and overworked, that's not going to work well. So definitely have to be more careful as a service business versus producing anything.
Yeah, exactly. You want the service to be good, and your employees are part of that. So obviously you need to care about them just as much. So speaking of, I guess, reviews, this is a lot that goes into it. What are kind of some tips that you have for communicating with customers, like throughout your process?
Yeah, that's also a good one, and then that one is harder to train. So we're very big on processes, procedures, training, everything like that. That's one. And again, I'm not involved in things as I used to be, as we're 400 employees. But at a top level, I always struggled with training for that, because you could train people to be really good PPC analysts, technical analysts. I don't know, train them in SEO and website design development. Communication is a tough one to train, but for probably the most important thing, right? You could be doing really shitty SEO work, and if you have great communication and rapport with the client, the client's not gonna care as much. Let's put it that way. And for us, to take a step back, we sell SEO in terms of hours we put in. So it's not necessarily like SEO is often sold as like a mystery box where there's some magic and something else happens. Sometimes it doesn't happen. We sell it literally. Well, you buy blocks of hours, and our team spends those hours doing link building, content writing, all different parts of SEO. But sometimes the results are great. Sometimes it takes longer, right? But if you have the correct rapport, communication with the client, if you're keeping them updated, you're trying new things, that matters so much more than raw results. And that's a skill that's very hard to teach, train. I don't know at what level. It's a personality trait. Like sometimes I even wonder if it's like something that should be taught in college at some level, like proper, like, I don't know, communication etiquette. I don't know, like not being passive aggressive, not ignoring client. And they right, people we've had employees on all sides of that spectrum, like ignore client emails. That's obviously very bad. The passive aggressive, as I told you last time, kind of emails are also bad. But for sure, I think one of the most important things, probably on par with the quality of your work, is the communication that your employees have with the clients.
Yeah, I definitely get that. I think it's hard for some people to get emotional in working and not realize that comes as a detriment to how the company looks.
Both extremes. You could people get too emotional and like get fired up with clients over things that they shouldn't, and then on the other extreme, people are very detached and very robotic. And there's definitely happy mediums.
Yes, and then there's also people, and I sometimes even my bosses talk about this to me, people who are too accommodating. Some people, like, I take too much time out of my day sometimes to, make sure that someone's happy when they're not maybe valuable enough to be dedicating that amount of time to. And that's always like, you have to be able to manage your time correctly so that you're not wasting customers' time, but you're also not wasting your own.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's hard to manage. So how do you then, so we've talked about communicating with customers, getting customers. How are you able to kind of ensure that you're getting that referral from a customer, like you're getting more customers from, the quality service from your customer?
Yeah, good question. So I think something that every business would like, whether you're an agency or you cut someone's hair, or you're a realtor or plumber, referral business is super important. I think there's no guarantees in it. I think a reputation becomes super, super important. I think encouraging your clients to share their experiences online, both on things like Google reviews, and just post it online. And if they don't feel comfortable, have them write something up for you, and you could share it on your social media with that customer wrote for you, right? I think that's what's important. I personally do a lot in the automotive marketing space. I wrote a book called Automotive Search Marketing. Super relevant for automotive also. A lot of automotive business comes from referrals. Like, I don't know, you wanted to buy a Honda Accord. How do you pick the Honda dealership to go to? You'll probably either ask someone what Honda dealership they recommend, maybe someone who recently bought one, or you'll search online. There's really, these days, there's very few other ways to find a dealership to go to. So Same thing. I don't know. You sold someone a car. They're super happy. Ask them if it's okay to take a picture of them with the car, and they share a couple sentences, and then you share it on social media and tag them, and then they reshare that, and then their audience sees it. Right? Things like that, I think, go such a long way and are so powerful. Then another podcast a couple months ago. I forget, there was like a word for it. I forget what it was, but it was like the new word of mouth. Like it's like the digital word of mouth. Like when back in the day, that's how the word of mouth happened. And these days, it's a little bit more common for people to trust their social network recommendations than their like uncle, right? I don't know. 15 years ago, you come home, your pipe bursts in your basement. You would probably check the yellow pages or call a family member for advice, right? Now you'll probably take out your cell phone and search plumber near me and also look at the reviews. Well, picking a plumber, I promise you, you're not going to pick a plumber with all 1-star reviews. Or you're going to be like, I remember my friend on Facebook shared last week that he had a really good experience with this plumber. Let me look it up and call him. So definitely a powerful way to get business very cheap, especially when client acquisition costs across every industry are the highest they've ever been now.
So I'm sure obviously you're always ensuring quality in your work, but say you have a situation that a client is not happy. How do you kind of work with that? What do you do? What is your process of trying to, repair that kind of relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd like to say that never happens for us, but for sure there's always it's you could do the best job ever. Sometimes expectations just don't align, right? Or there's situations. We actually have a position in our company that specifically as a neutral third party deals with those situations, and we're very quick to try to mend the situation. We call an escalation, but escalate it as soon as there's any issue because it snowballs very quick. So I think first it's very important to catch it very quickly. Second, I think it's super helpful to have someone at a senior level who's a neutral third party get involved to kind of de-escalate and work on a resolution. And we're very quick to empower that person, and she's at a very, very high level in the company, which also helps because you need someone with authority. Because as soon as there's something wrong, I promise you, the client is like, I want to speak to the owner, right?
Yeah.
So it helps that she's at the C level in the company, and we empower her to be able to resolve issues without needing any approval from anyone, including financial resolutions like refunds and things like that. I only heard of this. We came up with our policies before I heard of this, but I recently, a couple of years ago, I was doing a speech, and I was talking to a guy there about customer service and how, especially in the agency world, it's I know more people are unhappy than happy, and statistically, people are more likely to share bad reviews than good on a ratio of 10-1. If you have like a B+ experience with any business, you're probably not leaving them a review. If you have like a C- experience with a business, you're definitely leaving them a bad review, right? To get a good review, you really have to have the most amazing experience ever. So we were really talking about that, and how in a lot of businesses, it's super important, because once your reputation goes to shed, like you're a very good plumber, but now you have a lot of bad reviews, and someone searches plumber near me, a couple of plumbers come up, and you come up with your 2.5 stars, no one's gonna go to you, right? It's who would pick someone with 2.5 stars on Google to do any kind of work for them? Like, I don't know what it would even take, like 20% off, 30% off. Like, how much would you need to save to go somewhere really fast? Anyway, so going off a little bit on a tangent, but I ended up talking to this person. He said he was actually worked as a consultant for Ritz-Carlton, the hotel brand. all over the world. And he said Ritz-Carlton actually has what they call a $2,000 rule. I think it's called $2,000 rule. And you could Google it later. You could. I'm sure there's information on the internet. And the way it works is the Ritz-Carlton empowers their managers, and it's across every single line of business, across every single hotel, everywhere. And I think they've been doing it since the 80s. And the way it works is they empower their managers to be able to make things right for a customer, spending up to $2,000 without approval from anyone. They literally don't need to file any paperwork, don't need to do anything. Up to $2,000, no questions asked to make things right. That means, I don't know, someone has an issue with their room, someone, needed something ordered for their room, someone didn't like the pillows, and the pillows the entire hotel has is bad. The manager's empowered to literally go out to a store and buy a new pillow for that client. And they said when this guy was telling me he was working with them when they implemented it in the 80s, and he said it made a night and day difference. And literally that was, in his opinion, what made Ritz-Carlton into what they are today. And if you look at their hotels in general online, they have probably some of the best reviews compared to anything similar. And it's very hard to do as a chain because they're part of Marriott now. They used to be separate, now they're part of Marriott, but most of Marriott hotels are not owned by Marriott. They're franchised out. So it's random owners. But it's they kind of keep that rule across the board, and it's been very powerful. So very long-winded answer for you, but I think customer service is super, super important. I really like the Ritz-Carlton rule, even though we made our policy before that. Well, they made it in the 80s, but we made our policy before we learned of their policy. But I would empower whoever you have in customer complaint resolution to have the resources to make things right without needing to spend a week chasing down someone for approvals of this or that, because otherwise the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think customer service is super important, especially for remedying things. It's important in all aspects of a company, but to be able to deal with someone who is angry or disgruntled or upset about something is a talent. And I think that you really need it in order to be able to keep a customer and keep a customer happy.
Yeah, I mean, if you're big enough to have that as its own position, I would certainly encourage it, and it should be someone at a executive level. You can't, have a junior project manager who started last month be the one making resolutions, right? Has to be, I'd encourage it to be at a C-level position, and I think it has to have, whoever's in that position has to have the ability to resolve issues without needing to get a lot of approvals. And if you need any more reassurance on that, look up the Ritz-Carlton rule, which I promise I did not make up. I didn't preemptively look it up before this podcast, but I did have a good chat with that person, and hopefully he didn't make up the entire story.
That would be kind of funny.
Yeah.
And anyone looks it up after this and they're like, that guy was just lying.
I spot checked it while we were talking. So
Okay, perfect. Well, I really appreciate this chat today. This is all the time we have today, unfortunately. But I think I learned a lot. And the Ritz-Carlton rule is something that's very cool. I will be looking that up after this, actually. Not to fact check you, but just because it's very interesting. But I really appreciate that. And thank you so much for coming on today.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Fully Managed, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest. And to learn more about Penji, the human-first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend and, of course, subscribe.